give them a big round of applause. Our last panel discussion for the day.
So, Mr. Farouk, this is where we're going to begin the question with. What we saw in London as well was there is everyone, just like over here, the problem was that the people were holding their assets in their private wallets because they didn't have enough trust on institutions to hold them. And when we are talking about tokenization of assets, which makes things a lot more commercial, it's obviously not possible to do that, especially with real-world assets. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting journey. So I wanted to begin that question with you, because you are in the industry where you are looking at gems, precious gems, okay?
Yes.
So how are you dealing? The first question among many, which I believe truly is the reason that why real-world assets or tokenization assets haven't taken the big scale that we should have seen because of a trust. How are you dealing trust in relation to tokenization of assets in terms of regulators?
Thank you, Nim. Was the interesting question to everybody. Everyone among those people who are having the digital assets right now, or a few years ago, they are thinking that this is asset. In their mind, in their head, this is the asset. Either it is digital, but it is a great asset. But how they can trust now to third parties when they have seen so many things happen there, whatever is going in the market, and what happened in the last 7 years. This is actually the clue here. This is the point here that there must be that digital asset, and that must be credible. Credible with some sort of physical asset there. So some sort of tokenization value of from any physical asset. And that asset too, then where they can capture that also. Either it is digital in the wallet, in the private wallet, but there must be then the exchange, there must be then the wallet, that must be also the secure. Just like the digital asset, just like the coin, just like the token it is backed by the asset, there must be exchange also which will be like that. And that should be also either decentralized or centralized. But centralized must be, we can say, regulated and reliable for that thing to get this. And this is the thing right now we are, because we are in the gemstone industry, and we start the tokenization from the movable assets. Gemstone is the movable assets. How it can be then non-movable asset, just like real estate, just like things, there, this trust will be the bigger and bigger when they will see that this digital asset is equal to this physical asset, and I can carry it anywhere in the world. That is the thing we are going to put in the market. This is, I think, should be the best thing for that.
You know, especially with the geopolitics in play, BRICS with coming up with their own currency, I think the space where you sit in is a very, very important space. Because let's say that recently Putin said that they wanted to trade directly with China by using their own currency. If you are trading with another currency, with another country with your own currency, your currency needs to be backed by something valuable. What is valuable? Valuable is your soft grains. No matter what happens, you would need them. So your currency would be backed by that. Precious metals, and of course, soft gems in relation to that's very important. Max, I wanted to pose the same question. And I wanted you to explain a little bit more from the custody issues. If we are talking about the tokenization of assets, how the custody issues will be resolved, especially with respect to hot wallet, non-hot wallets, and of course the liquidity, because that is the prime important point over here, which Parnay, exactly, you'll be able to give a little bit more information as well.
Because I'm a general manager of XT.com exchange in MENA region and CIS countries, so of course I'm in this team. Of course, I will be talk about come to us to centralized exchange. That's normal. You know, concerning real-world assets tokens, we have listed maybe 15 or 20 projects which backed by real-world assets. And of course, each project has their own KYC ML system, and our exchange, we follow these rules which company bring us, you know. Also, we started, as I told it yesterday in my keynote speech, we started program with packing intellectual property and cut it for pieces and make tokens backed by intellectual property. Here we solve problem of regulatory, because tokens with such nature recognized by Security Exchange Commission not like a token, but like a tool for registration of intellectual property. It's absolutely amazing. So people do not understand how it's possible, but it's possible. And every time people ask me why a token with real-world assets interesting for clients, because people like pump and bump, you know, so like memo token. We have, by the way, we list a huge amount of memo token, but the memo token is a game. So real-world assets, digital assets, it's like for more serious people. Look, we focused on private investors, which not go to standard stock exchange and buy through brokers. We just invest their own money to real-world assets, and they see, you know, so we have special table where we put capitalization of tokens, and you know, it's very important. And also, we do not expect that such token will be pumping down very much. Sometimes it pump and dump, of course, back and forth, it's normal, but not to the zero, because it's something in behind. It's very important. We like to take real-world assets tokens. And about questions, private wallets, we also have special decentralized wallets in our exchange. Some people like...
Will people continue to trust you as a wallet provider from an exchange?
No, very simple, very simple. Our owner, our exchange never take money from market. So we were created for money from just only one person, which is our owner. And we have big special fund for to cover losses. And by the way, from our beginning, we have zero accident with the hackers, zero.
Okay. Panay, what's your thought on that?
So let's just get back to the basic question here, which is why aren't RWAs as popular or as trusted as they should be? So when it comes to real-world assets, it sounds great to us in theory that there's something extremely illiquid. Let's take real estate as one of the biggest first initial examples, be it art, owning like the Mona Lisa or the next big painting, which could cost millions of dollars. But you can divide it into fractional tiny units, and then you can create an entire liquid market around it. So the concept sounds amazing. We can own something which most retail traders could never have understood really, or never could have afforded to buy really. So why isn't there a rampant market for the same? I think the answer is fairly simple, but yet slightly convoluted, because of the fact that RWAs are not spoken about enough. Not enough people outside of maybe this room or people invested in crypto know enough about RWAs. But there are slight pockets of space where they're really taking off. For example, socios.com, which are basically fan tokens for clubs, for football clubs especially. So if you support, we all probably support some club or some team or the other, and we would all like to be part of the voting process, for example, to vote for the next president, to just tell people that, yes, I am a part owner of XYZ club or whatever. So in those certain tiny use cases, these markets are really growing because they are emerging as like the innovators. But when it comes to real estate or when it comes to something like a luxury item, for the average person to do the proper provenance and understand that this is exactly where it is and this is exactly what they are claiming it to be, just turns out to be too murky for most individuals. So they would rather take the Web 2 space and opt for, okay, fine, there are a few Web 2 companies trying to do something similar where multiple people collect a pool of money and then they purchase one painting. So those are gaining slightly more popularity. But as soon as people come to know more about RWAs, more about blockchain, more about what provenance actually means and stands for, I think that's when you'll see the entire boom come in.
Honai, that's an excellent explanation. Why? We've seen the survey over here. People do not trust the digital assets in other wallets. Why would they trust that with your wallet? I mean, honestly, like my digital assets, some of them are in my own wallet, and some of them are on a hot wallet. So Yasin, from your perspective as well, from the education perspective that you guys are pretty much trying to do.
Especially when someone is new to the service to this kind of services, and there's a lot of effort to be done in terms of educational topics and to make people understand the risks and the options that they have in terms of technology, of services, of providers that are available on the market. And we were talking about credibility earlier. It's something that the service providers have to work on in terms of compliance, in terms of regulation, in terms of making sure that they don't have critical issues in services for their clients. For us as a PR agency, it's something that we can work on when we know that the clients, for example, they have done their work on their part. That's when we can do our job and make people trust the brand, for example. So there's a lot of work to be done on both sides, from the side of the service provider and from the side of the marketing or the PR agency, to be able to create the trust and credibility in front of the public. So it's really true that education is a really critical part. So people have to understand all the aspects, the risks, and the options that they have before being able to take a decision.
How many real estate investors are here in our crowd? Any of you holding real estates? And of course, the yield, which is like when you buy the property, you rent it, then you have a return, that's been massively impacted. A great example of that, like what we've written in the article was like, I think this was pre-COVID, when you go to JBR and you see massive commercial units empty. The problem was high returns were promised to landlords, and landlords, in order to have those higher returns, they were promised to get bigger rent. But the actual tenant couldn't afford that. So tokenization of assets from the educational perspective would have made a lot of sense, because you have tenant which cannot afford to pay higher rent. You have a landlord who is sitting to expect higher rent. If you tokenize that, you have a liquidity trap. If you tokenize that, then you create immediate liquidity out of that. Farouk, I wanted to get back to you, and I'm fascinated with geopolitics, how the world is moving in relation to away from the dollar-denominated trade world with the new ones. Could you please help us? Do you think there would be a time, are we moving forward? Because look, Russia had 2,600 sanctions. 2,600 sanctions. I don't know if anyone been to Russia. You can buy new Rolls Royce, you can buy everything in Russia. They've avoided pretty much everything. They have a GDP growth of a 3.36%, better than the UK, better than any other country. And this is the country which had a 2,600 sanctions on them. How they did it was obviously because massive amount of gold that they have.
Really?
Now, could you please help me to understand, and our audience, with your assets, with your gems, how likely are they to become part of the basket for these particular countries which trying to move away from the dollar-denominated world, especially if we talk about Trump coming and then the trade tariffs and all of that war coming into the play?
See, first when we were telling about the trust first, same thing will come here again. We are already known that we are bridging the gap between the physical and the digital assets. It is the responsibility of the BST group. What every media is telling that we are bridging this gap. But there is not only the one connection to make that trust. There is a single connection, and we made this. Not a single person can make this. There are so many parts. The first part was there that there must be a blockchain. That should be on the UAE consensus, and that should be a DAO based for the public. And we spent much more time for that, and we developed that. Now it is decentralized, it is open for everyone, everyone can use that. Either they are having token or they want to develop token or they will use our token. This was the first thing. Second thing, this gap and this trust, we have to prove. If we tell in the media and tell by tongue, we can tell no. We have to prove it by the activity. We have to show that. For that, we didn't, from last 5 years, we are developing this project. We are developing these all things, but we didn't launch it because of this thing. When we launch it, if you are having one token, your mind, your heart, it should tell you this is 1 carat of our asset in your hand. For that, we were trying that there must be regulation, there must be the governments who will keep our asset with them, and they will give us a receipt that this much of amount of the asset is lying in the treasury of the government, and BST is going to allow this type of tokens. But that didn't happen until 7 years. Now we decided we will sell out. We will keep that in our custody, and we will sell out that in the auctions and buy back the tokens from the market and burn them. This was the best option for that. Now we are telling about the BRICS. Yes, we have here the BRICS ambassador from South Africa, one of the country involved in the BRICS. Professor Halima is here. She came from South Africa yesterday. She is the BRICS ambassador also. But she is inviting us to the South Africa only to, we will try our best that this must be included in the BRICS. Thing. These are the 3 things. Fourth thing we want to, the trust and this gap and the wallets. Yes, of course, when you are having your assets in your wallet, either it is centralized, either it is decentralized. I told you, first of all, everyone have to prove themselves. FTX was doing something better and better in this. But
I lost a lot of money in FTX. I lost over 40.
FTX was doing whatever. And now the centralized exchanges, how they are. But there must be a different value for the digital asset and the physical asset. Say in our exchange and in our wallets, if you are having $1 million worth digital assets, and something happened to your wallet, something happened to that, but your physical asset is safe besides our treasury, beside the government, that can be then solved. Only some digits went here and there, but actual value is saved anywhere. That is why the people right now are trusting only the banking, in the banking system. When we go to the history, no one was, in the earlier stage, was ready to deposit a single penny in the bank. But later, the bank have given the trust to the public because government has accepted it. Same thing here, to get that trust. What the BSC group did, we did that. Public will not trust directly to the digital assets, direct to the exchange, direct to the wallets ours. Let us start by the banking. That's why we are not launching till now. So from tomorrow after our launch, we will give directly option to everybody that opened the account in the bank. There is Bello Baba Bank who was working for this banking for last 3-4 years, and there was the BST group who were making these things, and we have collaborated here. Yesterday in the KCB note, it was here. From tomorrow, anyone willing to have the bank account with the both things, they can deposit crypto, they can deposit fiat. They can withdraw, it is their choice. They can send the crypto and they can withdraw by the card as the crypto as a fiat. This is regulated from US, this is regulated from UK, this is regulated from Panama, this is regulated from UAE also. But unfortunately, Russia cannot, because Russia is, they are not allowed because of the sanctions, they can't open there. Even Iran. For the sanctioned country, we can't do something for them.
I think, look, if you're talking about currency needs to be valued by something. Russia holds so much gold and soft grains and everything else. So your precious gems will become the part of the equation if there is another currency.
Of course, we have in our exchange several stable coins, but usually when you have real world asset, you connect coin to this asset. This asset is sometimes growing, usually growing, maybe 90% it's growing. So there are several projects which tokens connected not only to gold, not only to gems, so maybe sometimes even copper, so even something in the ground, So I have project in work nowadays where some Canadian company has a huge amount of deposit and they want to tokenize it as an investment way. Without a stable coin, not interesting, So not interesting. I remind the time when it was 2017 when we bought blockchain when we bought Bitcoin on cash, and so that was rate is growing back and so so 15 minutes of blockchain operation sometimes rate was a little bit higher on the resident should pay a little bit more, So in stable coin there is not such problem. And thank you very much to say a few words about Russia because I just came back from Russia. I was in holiday with my family. So sanctions has two sides. First of all, trying to be worst sanction country and country which made sanctions, also problem. So in Russia nowadays there are not Coca-Cola, there are not McDonald's. They have different types of, instead of Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, we have maybe 10 different beverages, the same like Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. McDonald's, the same places are not bad, the same McDonald's, absolutely. So nothing happened, So, but problem with the people, because for people this is a problem, and also, so everyone wants to finish this war, of course.
Everyone does want to, but look, the GDP numbers speaks truth. You can't deny the data. If the data is telling you 3.36% is the GDP growth, and we can't see that in the US or in Europe or in the UK, everything just goes out of the window. But now, you wanted to take the same question or have one really interesting question for you? Which one do you want to do?
I'm okay with either, but
okay, I'll give
just
you
take
another small one.
I'll take the same one up just for a second, though.
Okay, sure.
Because stable coins in this particular regard are really interesting. Because stable coins can be either fiat-backed, but they can be collateral-backed, or they can be just algorithmic contracts, which are backed by just smart contracts. So the second aspect of this, when you can buy an RWA, which is backed by something physical in the world, with a token, which is already backed by some other cryptocurrency, is just something to imagine, I guess, that you're buying something which is backed by something else with something which is backed by a cryptocurrency. So this entire complication does make stablecoins extremely interesting. And we're seeing this sort of phenomenon happening in various parts of the world. You mentioned a few countries in conflict, but even in those countries which face high inflation, let's just take Turkey as a random example. They face severely high inflation. But what do the people end up doing? Earlier, it used to be the same thing. Just buy the dollar, hold the dollar, and just pray that the dollar will continue to be as stable as possible. But right now, if we look at the trends in whenever major conflicts are emerging, we're always seeing spikes in cryptocurrencies as well, where people are now opting more and more to either buy stable coins or to buy cryptocurrencies in USDC or USDT forms. Mainly because there's the other factor which you don't really have to store any of them in one place. You can just have them on the blockchain and it's far easier to transact cross-boundary too.
Our time is up. I wanted to leave you guys with one thought. When we take mortgage, the bank will take two things. Number one is your asset as a first charge on your asset. And secondly, you need a deposit, okay? Over here, as an expat, you 60-40. In the UK, 80-20, right? Or 80-10, whatever the ratio is. Remember the mortgage-backed security chaos back in 2007? Now, I'm not saying that another chaos like that is going to happen, but it could happen with synthetic financial products. What do I mean by that? We have a real-world asset as a one basket, and that could be anything. and then we could have within that the actual security, actual your property. You combine them together. Within the real world asset, you could have gems, you could have anything in that. And then the liquidity from those synthetic products, where the market would go from there onwards, is going to be amazing. But gentlemen, I wholeheartedly wanted to thank you, and it has been a pleasing pleasure to host you on my panel. And thank you everyone for staying this late. Please give them big hands of course.